Hey, what's going on, everybody? Brandon here. Doing congested whitetail therapy. I had her do a little bit of shooting today, actually. So it's the 1st of June, and if you're not out there already, getting oh yeah, got our selfie stick back too. So if you hadn't started shooting yet, get out there and do it. So time's drawing close. But anyway, on the topic of arrows, so arrows and arrow weights and speeds, momentum, all that have been a topic of discussion actually long before here recently. It just kind of rebirthed itself with this whole heavy arrow thing. And I don't want to call that a fad because, you know, heavy arrows had been around long before light arrows had. So, you know, I started bow hunting somewhere around 2000, well, seriously around 2012. I've been bow hunting long before then as a teenager, but back then, you know, basically the speed fast arrow kind of really took off. That was a big time. Everyone then was really chasing speed. We were shooting overdraws. We were shooting super low spine arrows because of the overdraw, being able to shorten your arrow length down, give you the opportunity to do so. And we shot fast. So 85 grain broadheads, yes, that light. And your standard like 12 to 17 grain aluminum inserts. You know, we were shooting 350 grain combination arrows to get crazy speeds, because that was the name of the game at the time. But since then, we have kind of reverted back, and we've gone to the heavier arrow type setup. And I've jumped down that rabbit hole myself. So let's talk about that for a minute, and we'll check out what I got going on. All right, so we've got our little handy dandy scale here. Some pretty bad reflection, not sure how much moved over here. Try to, anyway. Turn the scale on. Showing 0 grams there. And this is what I shot last year. So last year we shot, so that is a Victory VAP SS 300, and there's a 4-fletched Q2I, of course, a lighted knock, which I'll always shoot. It's 50 grain standard insert and 125 grain tip. For a grand total of, this is really difficult one-handed. Oh, shit. To make sure we ain't contacting anything here, we are at 511.7 grains. Now, this year I have opted to switch to the Victory VAP TKO, which is in essence the same arrow, still 166 diameter, but the SS has a stainless steel woven wire inside, and these do not. Also, I switched back to a 3-fletch. This is a heat vane. It's a smaller profile vane, exact same lighted knock, same 125 grain tip, but now we are shooting 95 grain insert. And the reason behind this is to gain some FOC. So let's see what we have here. 516 grains. So we have increased our insert weight by 45 grains, and we have only increased our total arrow weight by like 5 grains. So pretty good trade-off there. That's basically boils down to the fact that the GPI on, I'll scale off here. The GPI on my new TKOs here is a little less than the SS. And so I also cut the arrow down just a hair shorter. So at the end of the day, we basically have the exact same arrow we had last year, but we increased our FOC a couple percentage points. Now, do I think this is the end all be all of deer killing? No. So what I have experienced over the years, critter. Just my personal experience over the years. So, I have shot anywhere from 340-ish grains total arrow weight up to 625. About, I don't know, probably 3 seasons ago or so, I bought some custom fab arrows. My company's no longer in business, well, they switched names, and had a 300 spine with like a 115 grain insert, stainless steel sleeve, shooting 125 grain tip. I was right at 625 grains with a lighted knot and 4 fletch. And you know, I kind of chased that craze thinking because I public land hunt the vast majority of the time. Most all my shots are 20 yards in, and I'm oftentimes shooting through fairly thick brush. I wanted to have a little bit of oomph to try to knock a hole in something. But I fell victim to the theory that I could shoot through anything. So what has persuaded me away from that was that very same season, I actually shot and killed a buck, which I'll insert here. That was a public land deer. Shot him actually through the spine. So early rut, make a pretty good little calling session. He comes running in out of nowhere, stops underneath me. I shoot him at like 5 yards, almost straight down. And with this new heavy arrow setup, I actually sever the spine. So I break the spine vertebrae in 2 and get about a foot of penetration into the back of the deer. Of course, the deer dies almost instantly. Now, fast forward, late season, same year, same arrow. Bow setup was a 60-pound, I think Matthews track at the time. But anyway, same setup, late season, I'm sitting on the ground and going to kill a doe. Have some does come in, roughly 15 yards, get lined up, shoot the deer right dead on the humerus, right on the knuckle, and the arrow bounces off. Now, I know that the bone breaking threshold, 650 grains or blah, 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 blah. Anyway, all I know is that 625 grains on a standard size West Kentucky whitetail doe, that this was a single bevel broadhead too, by the way, right? So 2 blade, single bevel, solid piece broadhead. Hit the doe right dead on the knuckle and the arrow bounced off. 0 penetration, the deer ran away. So, and there could be 1,000 variables that could go along with that, but prior to that, you know, I'd never experienced anything like that. But I'd also never really shot that far forwards either. So, how critical is arrow weight? That's what we're all kind of working toward. And why am I shooting 500 grains now? So, I have shot and killed deer with a 350 total arrow weight arrow, and I've gotten clean pass-throughs. I have shot and not killed deer with a 625 grain arrow. I have shot deer with single bevel fixed head broadheads that did not get clean pass-throughs. I have shot deer with 2-inch cut mechanicals and blew straight through them. So either one or two things is happening there. Option 1, the deer have internal body armor that we're not aware of, and some have and some don't. Or 2, sometimes you just get unlucky. So, how critical is it really? My personal opinion, not that critical. Is your bow shooting straight? Is your arrow flying straight? That's pretty much it. You can shoot a 2-inch mechanical. Now you got over the top, rear deploy. Those will have some impact, obviously, because of loss of energy, but you can kill a deer, get a clean pass through on a standard 50 to 70 pound bow and a standard whatever arrow that the chart tells you to pick up. So you get your 350 spine, Carbon Express Maximum Red with their standard 25 grain insert or whatever the hell it is, put 125 grain or 100 grain Rage on the back of that sucker and let her eat. And more than likely you will have no issues until you do. Or if you deem that it's necessary and you want to, and you want to buy you a 250 spine and some Ethics insert systems, and screw in 150 or 200 grain solid piece bevel, single bevel or double bevel broadhead up front, shoot 600 to 700 grains, by all means pour it on it. At the end of the day, more than likely, if you shoot too far forwards and you get into some hard bone, you're not going to get through it. You're just going to hang up in there. So, where do I land? Somewhere in the middle. I like a little heavier arrow. I personally have seen better results from a slightly heavier arrow shooting through what's called a debris. Okay, so I choose to take shots that some people might choose not to take. And if you're shooting a 2-inch mechanical, I probably would think that you probably shouldn't shoot through very much. Opportunity for that, broadhead to open, deploy, and flight is there, and obviously change your trajectory dramatically. Whereas a fixed head is less likely to do so. So I have a tendency to take shots that are through a little thicker stuff. I don't have the shooting holes. Again, when you're not supposed to cut or trim anything on public land, so there's times I find myself shooting through a little bit of brush, hoping I've got a big enough hole there. And you may say I'm taking ethical shots. You can choose to say that all you want, but I choose to do that. And having a little bit of extra weight, more so in the front, is more beneficial for me. Keeps the arrow flying straighter, more true. And of course, ballistics tells you the forward of center is everything, right? No weight, get weight in the rear, no weight in the front, it's going to tumble. That's arrows, that's bullets, that's anything. So, and that's just basic science. But at the end of the day, you shoot what you think you need to shoot. And whether it's, budget or because of preference, that choice is yours. And don't let anybody tell you otherwise. The whole fixed head versus mechanical thing, I've shot both. I flip-flop. I shot both last year. I killed deer with both last year. So where a mechanical is really, really nice is when you do hold back a little ways, or you make a marginal shot, you have less room for error, or you have an increased opportunity for that good kill, right? So if I shoot back and I'm kind of really clip a lung, miss the lungs completely, and I'm all liver and guts, a nice big wide hole is going to allow that deer to bleed out faster, which will make you easier to recover the deer. If you were shooting a small fixed head, let's say like 1 1/4 inch, 3 blade or something, and you should pull that shot back, the deer may not die, but he may very well, or she may very well still die, but it's going to make tracking much more difficult because the blood loss is not going to be there because you don't have the hole. So it's a catch-22. Now, mechanicals. I rarely have ever shot a deer with mechanical broadhead that didn't have to trash afterwards because of blades. Now, can you rebuild it? Yes. And, you're going to, I have bent ferrules, but most your higher end now have a lot better quality. They're using higher end aluminum ferrules, or they're using stainless steel ferrules, or even titanium. Those you probably have no fear that ever those ferrules getting bent or warped or broken. So you can always try to replace blades. But what I'm getting at is, when I shoot through a deer, either to pass through or not, with the mechanical, the vast majority of the time, the blades are trashed. At least one of the blades are trashed. So that is something to consider. Arrow selection in general. How critical is it that you are tuning everything? If you are shooting competition, I'd say it's super critical. You should spin test every arrow you have. You you probably should build them all yourself, scoring all the ends, ensuring that your spines are all lined up, your nocks are lined up, everything's exactly the same. When you're shooting a deer, this is probably very controversial. I'm going to say it's not that important at all. For several years, I ran more than one spine arrow in my quiver. I didn't have the money to buy really nice arrows, so I bought what I could get that was cheap and readily available. So I'm talking like 6,000 straightness as advertised. I never even checked, never spun checked. Glued in the 17 grain whatever insert with the stock fletches that were on the arrow when it come, and shot and killed deer. And I practiced, made sure I felt confident in my shooting. But some of the arrows were 375 grains. Some of the arrows were probably 390 grains. They weren't even dead-on matches. And yet I still shot and killed deer. Am I encouraging that practice? No. No, I'm not. Matter of fact, this morning, I actually pulled my arrows out and re-paper tuned and spun and tested every arrow that I have. The more and more I get into this, the more and more I do see that for consistency purposes, it is very beneficial. But it's by no means necessary for you to hunt. You can jump down a rabbit hole so damn deep you can't climb yourself back out of. And I'm kind of guilty of that at times. I have a tendency to do those types of things. But put new strings on the bow back in February, got a couple hundred shots through it, and I wanted to make sure everything was still pretty decent. Went out there and shot, and now that I go out there and shoot in my garage, and I've got a paper tune set up that I made myself, I started tinkering. So I had 4 arrows that I'd set out completely to the side that I decided that I was going to hold up for season and not shoot. And I thought, well, I'm going to check all these. Well, they were all spinal line marked down. So it was one thing that's about a victory. Victory has a spinal line mark, which helps making you shoot more consistently if you're this deep into it, much easier. So these were all stiff side up, or spinal line, which I think is actually maybe it's the weak side. Either way. And I got in the garage and I started shooting. So, and I also started tinkering with my tip weight. So I'm planning to shoot 125 tips, but I've also got some 100 grain broadheads that are mechanicals. And I thought, well, let's shoot these 100 grain tips as well, just to see the difference in flight. And what I come to find out is that after multiple shots, that right now, with the arrow and the bow combined, they prefer a 125 tip, and they prefer spine line down. Whether that's tip side or weak side, I don't know. But I shot multiple times to confirm that. So I went in there, got my arrow spinner out, spun all 12 arrows, found a couple 2 that were really a little bit wonky, marked them, pulled out 4 that spun perfectly, that would be stiff side down or spinal line down, whatever, and pulled them out, made them my hunting arrows for the season. I actually pulled 5 of them out. How much difference does it really make? Well, let's go look and see. All right, so if you can see here, these are my shots from this morning. And we landed at. It's kind of hard to tell there, but so we can get up against this backlight here. Even worse. All right, so here's where we started at. As you can see here, we've got a little bit of a knock left tear. This is actually shot number 1. It was actually shot number 1 with a 125 grain tip, or 100 grain tip. And it was also stiff side up, or spinal line up. This was a 125, same way. Slightly just tipped, maybe a tiny bit knock left, maybe, but much better. So then we moved over here. We shot our 125 again, or 100 again, right here. Again, it actually gets substantially worse. And actually, I told you wrong. This was actually the stiff side up. These were the spine line down. So we moved over here and we shot again. We positioned stiff side up. There's a 125. Again, we are slightly knocked up, but not near as bad. So then I decided, okay, it appears that the 125 shoots a lot better. So then we come back and we shot 125, spine line down, and here's where we lined it up at. Pretty much dead, and that's perfect. And then to confirm that, we shot again, and once again, very, very, very close to perfect. Now, seeing all that may seem like I'm being contradictory to myself. Well, I can see you think that, but what I'm getting at is you can jump down a rabbit hole, and yes, you can make some fine tweak adjustments, but were those holes bad? Not bad enough that you couldn't kill your deer. Were those holes bad enough that would impact you if you were shooting competition? Without a doubt. But what has that done for me? That has now provided me the confidence to know that any error I see downrange is on me, not on the bow. Bow was shooting straight. I found the best combination for myself, for my bow, for arrow weight and tip weight. And so if I start to get some funky flight, either A, it's wind or other factors, or it's myself, it's not the bow. And when I go to shoot my broadheads this year, which will be sometime soon, not ready yet, I'm not really what I'd call dialed in to feel comfortable shooting my mechanical or my fixed heads. Now mechanical, spin that sucker on and let her eat. Most mechanicals have such a smooth, low angle. They have very little blade or exposed material to kind of throw your flight off, that I don't even consider worrying about those. And yes, you may get a ½ inch of plane or an inch of plane left, right, up or down, but the average archer will never, ever, ever know that, right? You're not that good, okay? So I never have. I have practiced with my mechanical at times, and it found to be completely useless. It's a waste of time. I have not seen a mechanical yet that had enough exposed blade and material, a true mechanical, not like a hybrid, that had enough exposed blade to make any real difference in flight. Now, when I go to shoot these, my fixed heads, that will be different. So when I make sure that I get my bow tuned or sighted in perfectly, when I know I feel confident that my sights are where they need to be and that I'm shooting straight, then we'll go shoot those fixed heads and see how they're flying. And just for a quick shout out on fixed head broadheads, I like fixed head broadheads. I have lots of fixed head broadheads. I actually have several still in a package. But I have ran into flight issues, whether that's bow issues, tune issues, or shooter issues, yet to determine. But what I have found is that these little dudes right here, this is a Ozcut Hurricane. I have found these to be the most consistent, accurate flying fixed head broadhead I've ever shot. And that's not even a question, that's hands down the best flying. They're small, so you don't get a big hole. You might not get a whole lot of penetration. Well, penetration would be fantastic. You might get a whole lot of blood loss. It is a very small broadhead, pretty compact, but the dudes fly like darts. And I've not found any broadhead that flew nearly as well as those. So, kind of long-winded. Don't know how necessary any of that even was, but just a kind of a little arrow rant there, I guess. You don't have to jump down the rabbit hole, right? Don't let it get so confusing, so aggravating that you spend all your damn time trying to super tune your arrows that you're not enjoying shooting, you're not enjoying hunting, right? Get out there, practice, get your bow grouping. 300 spine, 350 spine. Yes, having the wrong spine, the wrong tip weight could cause flight issues, but you can go to any box on any standard arrow, or you can get online to any arrow company, and they will provide you with a chart to make a selection. If you go with that, you'll shoot just fine. 12% FOC, 20% FOC, you can still shoot and kill deer, no problem. Don't let it run you. Don't let it run your hunt. Don't let it run your sanity. And let's go there and have some fun, man. Right? Later.